You've probably noticed that the AI we use every day is getting smarter, like ridiculously fast. But have you ever stopped to wonder where all that intelligence comes from? Well, that's what we're digging into today. We're investigating the real fuel behind this AI gold rush. And spoiler alert, it's your data.
So let's get right to it. We're going to follow the data trail and see exactly how the biggest companies on the planet are using the information you create every single day to build their AI models. The big question we're trying to answer is, what is this new generation of AI actually learning from?
To really wrap our heads around this, we have to start with a concept you've probably heard before. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product. It's the core rule of the digital economy. Your clicks, your searches, your conversations, that's the real currency here. And it's what's feeding this AI boom. So first up, let's look at Exhibit A, Google. We're talking search, email, maps, AI chatbots. It's a massive ecosystem, and it's all built on a foundation of data. We're going to look at exactly how they do it and check out a very telling recent scandal. So let's start with the gap between what we think is happening and what's really happening. In April of 2024, a huge class action lawsuit over Google's Incognito mode was settled. Why? Because leaked emails showed that even Google's own engineers knew it wasn't truly private. The results? Google had to destroy billions, with a B, of data records it had been collecting from these so-called private sessions. This case really just blows the lid off the idea that private means private from the company itself. But how does this tracking even work, especially when you're not on a Google site? Well, one of the key tools is something called cross-site tracking. You've seen Google Analytics or Google Ads on websites, right? They are on millions of them. Every time you see one, Google can essentially watch what you're doing, building this incredibly detailed profile of your habits and interests that extends far beyond just your Google searches. And that data pipeline flows directly into their AI. If you look at the terms for Google's AI, Gemini, the deal is laid out in black and white. Use the free version, your chats and prompts are fair game for training their AI. Pay for the service, your data stays private. It's the classic trade-off. The price of free is your data. It's not a secret. It's right there in the fine print. And it gets even more interesting. Their policy for the free services states that human reviewers might actually read and process your conversations to help improve the AI. Now, Google says the chats are disconnected from your account, but they're kept for up to 3 years. And here's the kicker. Their policy literally warns you, do not put sensitive or personal information into the free AI. They're telling you themselves. Okay, so that's Google, but they are definitely not the only player in this game. Let's move on to Exhibit B, Meta. Their playbook is pretty similar, but their data sources, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, are a whole different beast, and they are just as huge. So what's fueling Meta's AI? Well, according to them, they use all the public stuff, your posts, your photos, your comments. They're pretty clear that they do not use your private DMs or the content of your encrypted WhatsApp messages. But here's the thing. Just because they aren't reading the content of your messages doesn't mean they aren't collecting any data. And this is a really critical point to understand. The difference between content and metadata. While your actual WhatsApp message is encrypted, the metadata is not. Think of it like a letter in an envelope. Meta can't read the letter inside, but they can see who sent it, who it's going to, when it was sent, and where it was sent from. And when you collect that information on billions of people, you can figure out an incredible amount about the relationships and routines, all without reading a single word. And a scale we're talking about here is just mind-boggling. In one case, a data exposure meant that information from 3.5 billion active WhatsApp accounts, stuff like profile pictures and statuses, was scraped. The messages themselves were safe, but it just goes to show how enormous and how vulnerable this pool of data really is. All right, now for that suspicion that just won't go away. Is my phone actually listening to me? For years, tech companies have said absolutely not. But then, a document was leaked from one of their own partners that poured a whole lot of fuel on that fire. This pitch deck was advertising a service called Active Listening, and it wasn't shy about it. It claimed its software could use your phone's microphone to listen to your conversations, and then target ads based on what you said. Now, after this leak, that company got kicked out of the partner program, but wow, the fact that this technology was being developed and sold was a bombshell. It confirmed a lot of people's worst fears. So let's take a step back and put all these pieces together. We've looked at Google's engine, we've looked at Meta's playbook. What does the digital profile they're building on each of us actually look like?
This chart really lays it out. As you can see, there's a ton of overlap. Both are collecting your location, your browsing history, your contacts, and that all-important metadata we talked about. A key difference here is Meta's use of biometric data with its facial recognition tech. But when you look at it all together, this is the raw material, not just for ads, but for training the next generation of AI.
Now, it's not like nobody's noticing. Regulators are starting to push back, hard. In May of 2023, European authorities slammed Meta with a massive 1.2 billion euro fine. And it wasn't just for collecting data, but for illegally transferring EU user data to the US. The regulators called the violations systematic, repetitive, and continuous. That's not an accident, that's a business model.
Okay, I know. Hearing all of this can feel pretty heavy, maybe even a little hopeless. But you are not powerless here. So now we're going to get practical and walk through some specific, concrete steps you can take to start taking back control of your data. For Google, here are 3 things you can do right now. First, if you're not a fan of their AI search summaries, you can add a tiny bit of code to your browser search settings to force it to just show you old-school web links. Second, go to myactivity.google.com and set your history to auto-delete every 3 months. It's simple. If they don't have the data, they can't use it. And third, this one's a biggie. Dig into your Google account settings and pause Data for Generative AI Improvement. That's the switch that helps limit human review of your activity. And for Meta, we can be something similar. First, in both the Facebook and Instagram apps, find the browser settings and turn off Allow Link History. That stops them from tracking every single link you click inside their apps. Second, given those active listening concerns, go to your phone's main settings and just revoke microphone access for these apps. No permission, no listening. And third, on WhatsApp, you can reduce that metadata trail by disabling things like last seen and read receipts. Small change, less data. And hey, if you want to take an even bigger step, you can start opting out of this whole ecosystem. Browsers like Brave block trackers automatically. Search engines like DuckDuckGo don't build a profile on you. And messaging apps like Signal are built from the ground up to collect almost no metadata whatsoever. They're all great alternatives.
So here's the bottom line. Your data, all of our data, is the essential fuel powering this entire AI revolution. It is the new gold. Now that you've seen a little more about how the sausage gets made, the question really isn't just what they're doing with it. The real question is, what are you going to do to protect it?